So, welcome back to Real Conversations. I'm the host, Austin Buzzard, but you just call me Buzz. And we're here today with Radheya Jegatheva, and you're the creator of the film Paint by Numbers.
I
And
am for having me.
yes, you're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks for coming. Um, I was wondering, could you just give us like a brief background about like your film history and whatnot?
My film history.
Yeah, like what all
Uh,
you've made or learned or whatever you want to tell us.
right. Yeah, I'm a filmmaker and an animator. I think my specialty is in like animated short films. So I've made a few of those over the years, which have kind of gone and done the festival run. And Painting by Numbers is my latest one on the that I've made. And yeah, I just love creating, and I think I just describe myself as a creative. Yeah. But yeah, it's um a lot of it, like the animation that I've made is kind of stuff I've just done on the side in my free time. And yeah, just a lot of watching tutorials and self like learning and just kind of experimenting within programs and that kind of thing. But yeah, I really love all parts of the process.
That's awesome. Like I love how you said like just watching tutorials on like YouTube or whatever, like that is the key. If you want to learn
Yeah.
something, go to
Oh,
YouTube.
yeah,
Free
yeah.
information, baby.
Exactly.
Awesome. And so about your film, like I was wondering why did you choose like because it was very interesting. It was something like I've never seen before. It's very like some of the things maybe I was like a little uncomfortable just like looking at it 'cause I was like, whoa, like so like what made you want to portray like the message that you chose to portray? Like kind of like what inspired that idea?
Right. Well, to begin with, the I originally made this film for like last year for an event called TEDx Sydney, and I like my producer Matt Hearn, who were talking, and basically he kind of gave me free reign to create, whatever I wanted for this. But the theme had to be around real, which is interesting because if you
Aha.
real going back. But climate change and I guess the state of our planet is something that I've always wanted to touch upon in work of mine, and I hadn't really had a chance to do that. So I thought this would like be kind of the perfect opportunity. And so I knew I wanted to make something that I had like a limit of like 4 minutes, and so I knew I couldn't go into too much detail there. So I thought I'd try to make something that could hopefully keep continuing the conversation and maybe make people want to look into it further, and like I guess make their own informed decision based on their research. So I think that's really important. And so I decided that I would just tackle as many things as possible, and just like very obviously it's very surface level in such a short amount of time. But yeah, I knew I wanted to make something that was quite confrontational, that got people talking, I hope. And yeah, just to make something that, this entire thing is like a very international issue, of course. And something that I guess could be understood by almost anyone, like pretty much almost like told through the visuals. Because the paintings themselves that these I guess the scenes are based on, yeah, they don't have any dialogue or words to really tell their message, or to capture the viewer. They did it all through just the beauty of art, and so that's kind of how I wanted to encapsulate some of these things. Yeah, just I think I just really wanted to look at it through a bit of a creative perspective, and just through something that I hadn't seen before. And so I hope that it would also, yeah, make others think a bit differently about it as well.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely like it was super cool. Like I enjoyed it. But you'd
Thank
mentioned
you.
like the like arts and stuff that like the pictures that you had in there. Like what made you choose those specific paintings to like dive into?
I guess thinking about the audience and the reason, and I guess the message of the film. Um, this is something that you can't really be subtle about, and so I thought, you know, what artwork would speak to people the most. And that's kind of why the reason I chose like 7 of the most famous paintings in the world, because I knew that this is what people would, I guess, relate to the most in the art world. This is what people have seen the most of. And so if I'm able to first, I guess, try and show the beauty of that, but then also show, I guess, the ugliness of that in like the kind of modernized versions of each of them, that hopefully that would have a bit more of an impact on them. And yes, and some of them like were very like came to me like very like instantly, like from the very beginning I knew I wanted to, this painting and this painting. And others definitely were, they're a bit more abstract in the reasoning. I think the interpretation can be taken in many different ways, and that's how I wanted people to also view and take in the film. But yeah, that's kind of the reasoning why I chose those paintings in particular. I think that they were able to encapsulate both like each the respective sin, but also the environmental issue, and trying to interweave both of them together.
Nice. Yeah, and that was another thing I was wondering, like, was that like kind of like a starting base point, like a 7 like deadly sins type of thing?
Yeah, it's a bit, I guess, of a random like combination. I like the 7 deadly sins is also something that it's a concept I think you can just do so much with, and it was also something that I really wanted to incorporate in my works. And so I knew I'd been
Pretty
wanting
good.
to incorporate that for a while into my films, and then also the topic of climate change. And so I thought, okay, well, what better moment to do it than now? So I guess trying to incorporate the 7 deadly sins, climate change, and 7 of the most famous paintings in the world, and trying to see if it worked. But what was it I think interesting as well is like I thought I'd would have been the only person who'd ever kind of done that kind of thing. But then after I made the film, I was playing a game called Civilization, and I saw a quote from a guy called Edward O. Wilson, and he said, "Destroying rainforests for economic gain is like burning a Renaissance painting to cook a meal." And I thought, wow, that's super relevant. I was tempted to like put it as like an introductory quote at the beginning of the film after that, but yeah. But yeah, that's kind of, yeah, I guess my thought process going into it.
That's awesome. Like, like just chilling playing video games. You're like, oh my gosh, like that's exactly what I did.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
he did it first, but yeah.
Well, I mean, he's probably like 1700s or something when that dude spoke that line.
Probably, yeah.
And so, like, for the animation, you already kind of had like the base of like the painting. So how did you like incorporate like the getting the painting into like an animation and then moving that painting?
Yeah, so with each of these paintings, I guess when I going into it, like I knew it was just, I guess, a daunting task, because I knew if I wanted to animate these, like one, I'd have to like paint all of the paintings, because like one, I didn't feel comfortable like full of it just about like taking someone's photo and then just like taking it apart. Like I wanted to like at least if I was gonna take some other people, like famous people's works, to really like at least put some of my own effort into it. But also I guess I had to anyway, just because I knew these are going to be like 3-dimensional scenes, and so it meant that I had to like individually create different layers within those scenes. So like all of the like even the little in the Starry Night, there's little like things in the background, the strokes, you had to kind of just digitally paint over. So thankfully I had like the original source image as reference, but yeah, it took a long time. And yeah, it's yeah, that was kind of the main technical hurdle, because for all 7 of the paintings I had to like digitally redraw and repaint them. But then the flip side of that as well was that I also had to paint like the modernized versions as well. So essentially, like I guess there were 14 kind of scenes that were needed to be done. And yeah, it took a long time, but I'm obviously very glad that these incredible paintings were, there to be based. I guess I could base the work upon, and so, I guess in the conceptual, from a conceptual visual sense, a lot of the work was kind of, you know, there for me. And kind of like why part of the reason why I called it painting by numbers as well. I guess it was almost kind of like painting by numbers in a way, because these paintings were already existing, and I had to, I guess, kind of put my own twist on it. And so yeah, it was a bit harder than a typical paint by numbers kit, but yeah, got there in the end.
Yeah, if I had to do anything like that, I'd throw in the towel. But I can follow directions of red goes on number one. That's more up my alley instead of having to recreate a masterpiece. So hats off to you for that. That's awesome. That's super cool. If I ever need a mock-up, I'll just come to you. Like, hey, I know a guy who can do great copies of these masterpieces of art.
Yeah, maybe we should get into forgery.
Hey, there you go. There you go. I'm sure somebody would pay a pretty penny for that. So those are all the questions that I have for you. Is there anything else that you want the people that are going to be watching to know, like about you or about the film or anything in general?
I think it would just be to please do, I guess, some more research on the topic, and to anything that kind of really stood out to you. And because over this process, I learned so much, and I think it was definitely an eye-opening experience for me, going into it and researching it. And obviously in this day and age, it can be very hard to know what is what's true and what's being, I guess, manipulated. And so I think making your own informed decision, I think, is definitely what I would love people to take away from this, and to hopefully get people talking and more, I guess, keep the conversation going.
It's wonderful. Is there any social media platforms or anything like that that people can follow you and keep in touch, or keep following your work with?
I have a Twitter. I think the handle is Heya. It's Radheya. My name is Radheya. And I have an Radheya _J.
Brilliant. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for today. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great to talk to you and to be part of this.
Absolutely. Thank you again.
Thank you.